Hello, welcome back to another episode on our podcast. आज का episode is going to be very special because we have our guest Deepak who just won a competition recently. We'll be talking about all those things, his routine, what he did, his experience throughout. So Deepak, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Varnit. I'm doing good, great, the best shape of my life. So, no complaints.
All right, so let's get started. So first thing, before I came across your transformation, I did see from where you started things off, the challenges you faced, but I would also like the audience to know कि किस तरह के challenges को आपने tackle किया और कैसे tackle किया, because it's all the more important कि हम लोग हर base को cover करें so that everyone also knows if they have something similar or similar target in mind. I do know that you have been training for quite some time, almost a decade I would say. You have spent that
Right.
much time in the gym experimenting with things, probably trying out new strategies. So what did that look like for you, the journey over the years, and what was your first day at the gym? How did that turn out to be compared to the current one?
So, first day at the gym, so it was not a very good experience. But then slowly I started enjoying the experience of working out. So I was not on point when it came to diet, but then I used to actually train like a beast, lifting heavy. So what happened was in 10 years of my journey, so it's been 12 years. So in 10 years, I almost became like a power lifter. So wherein, I used to do around 200 kg squats, around 210, 220 deadlifts, around 115 bench presses. So I used to enjoy working out. So in the sense that, the lifestyle was not that great,
Mhm.
but then I made it a point that I hit the gym at least 6 times in a week, and without giving much attention on the need, the non-exercise activities and on the diet part. So I think COVID was a blessing in disguise for me, because that is where I had a lot of time on my hands. So being a sales professional, so unless and until you are in front of the customer on field, so you're not that productive. So before, Teams meeting and Zoom meeting became the new normal. So I had quite some time, and one of my friends, so I saw his transformation. So
Right.
he lost around 30 odd kgs. He was around 130, and when I saw him, he was around 105, 102 to 105, in that range. So looking at his transformation was an inspiring thing, because he was the guy who was totally against gym. So, from his society gate to his building, he is someone who used to take an auto, so completely non-active. So when I saw his transformation, when I asked him,
Mhm.
so he said he's been doing this quantified nutrition. So before that, I was very active on these platforms, so wherein I used to see the natural transformation, and I did not believe them, to be very frank. I always thought that maybe these people are faking. So naturally, these kind of physique is not possible at all.
Hmm.
So during the COVID time, so I had enrolled under one coach. So she guided me with different diet charts. So I followed that rigorously, and then I saw things changing for me for better. So that is when I realized the importance of quantified nutrition along with the training. So on the training front also, now I feel that I used to overtrain. So I used to spend around 2.5, 3 hours in the gym. So doing whatever machines I like. So until and unless I was completely fatigued, so I used to work out. But the protein intake was on point. So that is the reason I gained a lot of muscle mass. So if you see my old pics also, so I was always muscular. So lifting heavy, always muscular, touch wood, injury free. But then the kind of workouts that I used to do, so I was prone to injury. So that
Hmm.
is what I realized now. Technique is so much very important. So my trainer, so she was not, she was busy on her personal front. So that is when I was looking out for a new coach for myself, and couple of recommendations came in from one of the friends, and I had messaged them simultaneously. So Kamal is the one who responded first. So we had an in detail conversation, and then I realized that his journey was more or less similar to mine.
Mhm.
He was overweight. He used to love working out, And then when I saw his transformation, so that is what inspired me, and his overall approach, as in the way he answers your queries, the way he would motivate you. So I kind of guessed that in the first interaction itself. So when the other coaches approached me, then I told them that I'm sorry, I've already finalized one coach. So I think that was a very good decision on my part, and that completely changed the game for me. So when I enrolled under Kamal, so he asked me my goal. I said I want to get into a single digit fat percentage and would want to have a maintenance calorie of around 1800 to 2000. So he said we will definitely achieve that, and I promise that your maintenance calorie would be about 2500. So at first it was very difficult to believe, but then as the journey went on, so we did it in two phases. So wherein I had participated in TC, Transformation Challenge. So in the first phase, so I came down from approximately 35% fat to 14 odd percent fat, where abs started popping out. So the body took a good shape. And in the second phase, that is where he wanted me to go for ICN. He said, we are building a physique, so why don't you inspire others through your journey? So the best way is to get noticed, and to get noticed, you need to be on stage. So I was a very stage shy kind of a person. So I never wanted to build a body to be on stage. But then the experience of ICN was completely different. I feel like a celebrity now. So in my gym, so people around me who used to always tell me, being a naptol.com. So now they have started taking tips from me. How did you do it? So that is the kind of respect that I've gained, and I take pride in the fact that all of this is natural. So for someone who used to see other people's transformation and did not believe it, and doing a transformation yourself, so it was a journey in itself, and a good one.
All right, yep. Thank you for sharing that. I can see that there were many high points as well, and there were many learning process and curves along the way. Because
Correct.
like breaking our own beliefs is a whole different kind of ball game altogether, right? You just
Correct.
think a certain way, then it takes some time to change that existing belief that you have already deformed over the years, or like let's say weeks or months. But yeah, you have done a great job, and Kamal also has helped you get there from the point. And I have seen those contest prep images as well, the stage images that have been making rounds on social media. I've seen all of those, so great work there. So when you say ki you have spent enough time, you did train like a beast over the last decade. You were lifting heavy, and even if someone is overtraining, or let's say not doing everything optimally, they are bound to make some kind of progress, regardless of what their nutrition looks like or what their recovery looks like, anything for that matter. So you had that going for you for all those years, for all those months when you were training hard. Because as long as you're doing something consistently, even if it's wrong, you still get some results out of it. They may not be along the lines of what you probably wanted, or you could have probably saved a lot of time in the experimentation part or the other things, right? But you did learn something or the other along the way. You tested your own limit, your own strengths along the journey. So that's something which you learned on your own. But what did you feel was the difference when you started getting coached from a person who has been there, who has done all those things, and they have taken that physique to another level, which you also did eventually here? So did you feel there was a slight difference, or was there a major difference in terms of how you were approaching training or nutrition in general overall?
So there was a major difference, I would say, but the changes were so subtle that you hardly felt that it was difficult. So if I compare it with what it was pre-quantification, the times when I had a coach. So from then to now, it is a major difference. But then, if you look at the overall journey, during the journey, I never felt the major shift in my routine, because it was taken up very gradually, very subtly, and I was given some time to get accustomed to the new chart before going for further changes. So the changes were very little. And what I learned was in the previous phase of the transformation, so I was completely dependent for the diet chart on my coach. So Kamal used to guide me. He used to give me the chart, and I used to blindly follow it. So the mistake that I made, which I realized in my preparation during ICN was, so suppose he gave me 300 grams chicken, for example, and I used to buy 1 kg of chicken breast. So in the last day, so it would be somewhere around 350, 380. So I thought any which way this is protein. So let me add it. So instead of 300, I used to take 350, 380. So because of that, I was over consuming the calories which I was supposed to. But during the TC, so Kamal also introduced me to make your own chart. So the best help that I got from that was, suppose I have included bread in the diet, and there is no bread. What do I do? So earlier I used to go run to the grocery shop, get the bread, and stay on point. But now I know, अच्छा bread नहीं है, I can add some poha in it. So I'll quantify it accordingly, and that is how I stayed on point. So in the chicken example, so if I take 350 or 380 grams of chicken, so I'll account for 350 or 380 grams of chicken, and then I'll adjust the macros, other macros accordingly. So that is the reason, I felt that this time I was apt on the point when it came to the protein, fat, and carb ratio. And also the fact that I now know how to make my own chart, so it helped a great deal.
All right. That's definitely helpful. Like having access to knowledge, how to go about it is like the ultimate goal, right? So that you can do things
Correct.
on your own if and when needed. It doesn't have to be competitive in nature when it comes to goals, but it also means that you have to spend the entire life doing something which you're passionate about and doing it smartly all over. So
Correct.
definitely
Yeah.
that sounds good. That's a decent approach actually, because it usually helps, and life is not going to be very linear in that terms that you have access to similar items at all the time. So there will be a change or the other, change in environment, change in surrounding, anything can happen, you don't know that. So that's a good approach that you followed there. And during this journey, let's talking about the prep for ICN. Let's say 6 months before or 4 months before. Let's take 6 months for a time frame. And what were the highlights during this journey before the competition? What were the highs that you felt and what were the lows that you felt? Because something is going to bother you when you are going to get closer to the competition or towards the stage, right? It gets a little bit more challenging than it's supposed to. Even if you're prepared for it, you will still feel it. It's still going to be there. So what were those things that you felt throughout this journey?
The high point was the everyday changes that I saw in my body. Every day I used to see a new vein popping out. So changes in the body, changes in the sharpness of the ab, changes in physique. So every day I used to see some of the other changes. So that was the highlight. And the low point was, the low carb diet, which we had to follow during the end, and also on the keto front. So I never felt those hunger pangs, but then I was very low on energy.
Hmm.
So it was very difficult even for me to work out. So you kind of get restless, you get irritated even by small comments. So there are people coming, pestering you. When is the competition? When is the competition? So every day they'll ask the same questions. But then to deal with this, I had already so to deal with this, I had already prepared my mind that since I am on low carb, so it would be something which is to be done on my side. So I need to take care of these things. So these are the people who are concerned about me. So that is the reason they are asking. So had I not been on lower calories, someone else would have been training. So probably I would have done the same thing. So that is how I kept my temper in control. So I used to hardly speak to anyone, in the sense that I used to just smile around. So during this phase, I have a workout partner, Saran. So he had accompanied me to Chennai as well. So he is the one who got me going during this phase. So anyone with any kind of question they used to come to me, I said I've kept a man to answer on my behalf. So you please go and talk to him. He knows everything about it. So these were some of the low points. But then I'm very thankful to my gym also, to Nitro Fitness. So the staff were very supportive. So they kind of helped me in making my videos, in improving my posings. So we worked together on that. So even the other members who were very helpful. So the moment they know that he is doing something naturally,
Mhm.
so that is the different level of respect which you get. And people around, they have been knowing me for approximately 12 years. So I've been going to the same gym, in the last 10 years. So they knew that I was always against steroids. So I can always compromise with the physique, but then I did not want to inject any external compounds in my body, which will hamper my mental health, which will alter my hormonal balance. So I was very clear about that I do not want any kind of steroids. And frankly, ultimately it has come out very well. So it has now motivated me to go the next step. So I'm probably going to prepare for the Goa ICN.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm preparing for that now. So the plan is to, so this week I'm off diet. So I'm eating whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
So from Monday I'll be again going on a 2200 calorie diet. So wherein we'll try to gain some muscles for the first couple of months, and then probably we'll start the cutting process again.
All right, that sounds like a good plan for the year. Like you can just compound on it what you have learned from this prep even and apply to the next one, right? I'm sure you must have seen something that you could have worked upon, and you will try to do that. I'm assuming that's the plan for the next prep or the contest. So
Correct.
yeah, and when you said that you are feeling low on energy, so there's only so much that you can do during those phases when you are hungry or feeling low, because once you have enough budget of calories, let's say that you have like access to 2200 2400 calories, you are more or less comfortable sitting in that range, and you can probably eat that much food without feeling a lot of discomfort. But there would have been a point where it must have felt very challenging to consume those lowered calories, especially when you're not having enough carbohydrates in your system, probably another way which you're not feeling good about. Because the body likes carbs, especially if you're like into performance and training and all those things, right? It definitely helps in along those lines. So how did you tackle those instances? Was it all willpower, or was it some kind of strategy or the dieting strategy that you applied throughout?
So there was a mix of, all of these, willpower as well as writing strategy. So fortunately for me, I was not hungry at all. So
Okay.
during the keto phase, I was mentally prepared that this is the phase where I will not be getting much food, but then there were enough protein and fats in the diet. So I was not hungry. My challenge was the energy levels were down.
Mm-hmm.
So to tackle this during the keto phase, so what I did was I had this rice crackers which I used to have before workout. So that kind of helped me a lot. So it was hardly 8 grams carbs in one serving, and so one serving ensured a good workout session for me. With minimal talking, without wasting much of my energy, only focusing on the workout. So this was one of the strategy which I applied. Having some carbs or whatever daily carbs which I had, so have it before the workout, so
Okay.
that you have a good session.
All
And
right.
then secondly, willpower, definitely yes. So you already have that target in mind. You have that competition coming up. You want to look your best on stage. So that is the motivation factor which drives you throughout this journey.
All right. Makes a lot of sense, because sometimes you just have to use the brain power, the willpower, the mental
Yeah.
resilience, right? Because you can't fix everything all at once to control the hunger. Your body doesn't like to be starved out of like
No,
willful.
so this was well planned out. So we directly did not go on to a 30 grams carbs. We did
Mhm.
directly not switch on to keto. So initially for 3-4 weeks prior to that, so we had cut down on the carbs and we were at 120 to 150. So in this grams, carb range. So we were mentally preparing our body for the keto phase. So keto phase, fortunately, did not last long. So we were
Mhm.
only on for 10 days we were on keto, and that was to remove the excess water from the body, because coming from 94 kg to 62 kg, so there was a lot of loose skin which I had. So there was a lot of water also which was there on the lower abs and the backside around the love handle. So that was the plan. The idea of going into a keto phase was only to remove that excess water and to have a tight skin. So I think we managed to achieve that quite successfully on the competition day. And a couple of days prior to the competition, when the carb loading starts, so I got anxious, looking at myself, because Suddenly I felt the abs were not visible. So they disappeared suddenly. So I spoke to Kamal. So Kamal told me, no, this is because you have just trained your abs and you have started loading your carbohydrate. So I spoke to a couple of more friends of mine who had been on the ICN stage. So he said, don't worry, stage day pe everything would be perfect. So that is what happened. So morning when I got up, I took the video and then I was very happy with the way I was looking. So that was the best shape of my life, and also the confidence that I got from the first stage performance of mine. So I think that will definitely help and will definitely rock on the stage in December.
All right, that definitely sounds like a interesting experiment and an approach that you tried out. And I do get the skepticism towards the end, right? When you're trying out something new, you're going out on stage, you're manipulating the number of carbohydrates before the day, and there's always some kind of doubt in your mind that what if it doesn't look that way that you want it to, right? Because personally speaking, when I experimented it the first time, I wasn't even sure that rightly you mentioned it, abs gayab ho rahe hain, abs visible utna nahi hai, it's getting a very softer look. How is that going to work out? So that was my experience the first time I was trying to get ready for a photo shoot or something like that. So wahan pe I experienced this particular exact same thing, I would say, ki what is happening. But like when you get towards that day and if you're doing things like with proper discipline, say, and you're not cutting some slack or giving yourself some slack right there and then, so you will be getting there like where you want to, and you eventually got there. And based on the photos, based on the stage prep, like you also said, this was the best shape of your life at that time. So I'm sure there must have been a mixed amount of feedbacks that you would have received. Most of them would have been positive and would have congratulated you. But I believe कि इसके साथ there's a crowd which doubts you कि ये क्या naturally possible है. So I'm assuming or asking you, did you experience or encounter such questions or such feedback कि लोगों ने बोला है कि ये naturally possible नहीं है, या maybe you have used some kind of drugs or something like that?
Yes, so there was this one chat which I shared with Kamal also. So there was this trainer of mine who used to train me earlier. So frankly speaking, I have never had a personal trainer in my life. So whatever I have learned, so that those are through the general training. So applying my mind muscle coordination. So the training fortunately has always been good to the point. So there was one of this trainer who has changed his gym and he messaged me saying कि सर क्या कंपाउंड डाला है, एंड आई एम लाइक कोई कंपाउंड नहीं डाला, दिस इज ऑल नेचुरल. सर क्या सर हमसे भी झूठ बोलेंगे, हमको तो बताओ. देन आई सेड ठीक है यार कंपाउंड डाला है, छोड़, देखो जो नाम देने का यू जस्ट गिव इट, आई डोंट केयर, बट दिस इज नेचुरल, इफ यू कैन बिलीव इट और एल्स लीव इट.
All right.
So there are instances, people talking behind my back. So one of my gym friend came, said that, people are saying that, they are asking me what are the things that you are putting in your body. So when I said that it is completely natural, so it is very difficult for them to believe. I said, leave it there. So tell them you are not aware what I'm putting. So just leave it there. But I know that I am completely natural, and also the people who have been with me for the last 10 to 12 years, and they understand how against I have always been for these kind of anabolics. So they would understand, and they definitely know for sure, and they have seen me training, they have seen me hustling, so they have seen me following that strict diet, so they have seen me at birthday parties where I've refused to have even a piece of cake. So for them also, I've been a motivation for them as well. So wherein most of them, they really make me feel like a celebrity now. So they are very proud of me. So this has given them also that confidence that okay, this can be done naturally. So there are many people who ask me for my coach's reference. So I happily pass it on. Some of them they reach out to Kamal. Some of them they just take the number for the heck of it. So I'm okay with that.
All right. Because there are always going to be some doubters and people around you who will not support you. But how you tackle them and not let it affect your workflow and discipline is what it's all about. That's how you go proceed forward and just go day in day out.
Exactly. So you need to filter out on things. You need to only retain things which will motivate you. So I take this as a motivation. When people say that you are on some steroids, so I take this as a motivation that without being on steroids, they feel that I feel that I've accomplished a physique which they feel is worthy of a steroid. So that's a motivation factor for me.
Yeah, and plus you have spent a lot of time following a disciplined approach. 10 years is no less time. It's a decent chunk of your life that you have dedicated consistently training, even though your ways have gotten better over the time, but you spent consistent effort, consistent training all those years, which compounded into something which you have as of now. So this is something which most of the people miss out on because they see the results that's just right in front of their eyes, and then they think कि ये पॉसिबल होना के लिए काफ़ी ज़्यादा मेहनत करना पड़ेगा या कोई शॉर्टकट तो होगा ही यहाँ तक पहुँचने का, उस तरह
But
का
I'll tell
अप्रोच.
you, but I'll tell you something. On the contrary, I feel I used to work more hard earlier. But that was donkey's work. Even donkey would lift a good amount of weight and nothing happens. So over the period of time, having a coach, having the basic understanding of nutrition. So I'd also gone ahead during the COVID phase. So I'd also gone ahead and completed the INFS basic certification course. So I do myself, understand a lot of things. So the session with Kamal was not, he used to give me something and I used to blindly follow. So there were many questions from my end, which I used to ask, why this, why, what, how. So all these questions, I used to ask, and fortunately for me, he had answers for mostly, all of them. And he was, I mean, the way he speaks, he's so convincing in the sense that, I've been following him for quite some time now. So there are some workout videos also. So wherein he kind of explains the muscle anatomy and the best exercise for it. So the way he explains it, he makes it so simple that you would want to believe it because that is science backed.
Yeah.
So it is not something which is just talking in general. So everything is science backed. So wherein he'll show the exact anatomy, the skeletal, the framework, the muscular framework, and then he'll tell you this is how it works. So I think it sounds very convincing, and once you are convinced, then that is when you start believing more in the process. And for me, I've always been like, I have completely left it to Kamal. So you tell me what needs to be done. I'll definitely do my part. You do your part. So that is how the partnership works out. So being a good coach, I'm sure Kamal is a very good coach, but I'm sure that not all his transformation would have been to that level, and that is not because he's lacking some, but that is because some discipline is lacking on the mentee side as well. So it works both ways. So a good mentee makes a good coach, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's also about like what fits you the best, right? What you resonate with the most, because you resonated strongly with what he had to offer, his values, his experience, his scientific breakdowns. I love the breakdowns of the video that he does for almost all the exercises, be it shoulder, be it your quad growth, anything for that matter. I love the breakdown that he does, and it makes it so easy and simple, and you don't have to have like a scientific background to like decode those or like to understand those for that matter. So definitely, so if you are resonating strongly with what your coach has to offer, in this case Kamal, then you went ahead and you put in your trust in him. So that's how it worked out for both of you, right? So that's how it actually works in every scenario, every case, or every mentee or coach relationship. Anyway, but like after the competition, what was the first thing that you did? What was that day for you in terms of, let's say, did you feel a bit relaxed? Did you get to enjoy some kind of meal post your competition? What did your diet look like after that stage prep?
So after my first stage performance, so that was bodybuilding. So I got third in that. And I had did my best on the stage. So there were other people who were better than me with bigger quads, with bigger lats. So my first reaction was I had requested Kamal to be present in person to motivate me because it was my first performance and it was a big day for me. So he took out time from his schedule. He came to the venue. He supported me. He introduced me to some of the other folks whom you look up to. So the moment I got down, so the first question that I asked Kamal was, "Are you happy with the performance?" So he said, "Definitely, very happy. So you did your best. I liked your posing. I liked your confidence." So that was what mattered to me. So after some point in time, because I knew this ICN thing I was doing only for Kamal because I was happy and content with the single fat percentage and with the maintenance calorie that he promised. So I think we achieved that long back. But the ICN prep, the stage thing was Kamal's idea to promote. So this was something which I wanted to give it back to your coach. You know, you have learned a lot of things from your guru, and now you want to give something back to your guru. So these medals which I got, so these are dedicated to Kamal, and these are for him, and these are his hard work which reflects throughout this journey.
Yep. That's lovely. I loved how you expressed that ideology, right? Because you were like basically he did a great job as well in terms of motivating you to try something out of your comfort zone. Probably it's not like you were thinking along those lines. He just gave you a new target, a bigger milestone to look at. So and you did that. You guys did that together. So even with the third place, like you said, the other guys had bigger quads, maybe other advantages in that stage. Maybe they did something more than you in terms of that, but it's always a constant learning journey. You learn from your performance, you learn from your learnings from the lessons that you experience on the stage. And I'm sure you must have a rough blueprint planned out till your next event, because I was also going to ask you what's next for you, which you already told me that you're looking at or eyeing at the ICN Goa prep, which is sometime soon enough, like in a couple of months time. So all the best for that as well, and I hope the training goes along the lines that you want it to be. And before we wrap up this podcast, before we wrap up everything, I would like to know, what would you suggest to someone who's trying to build a certain level of physique? Because there will be some beginners who are just getting into a gym. They are probably just touching a dumbbell or experiencing what a barbell feels like for the very first time. Maybe there's no weight on the bar. Maybe they are very new to the gym. They are getting out of the comfort zone to try something out. Maybe they just want to lose a couple of kilos, or maybe they are in a similar boat as yours where they have been training for a couple of years and have spent some time, but they're just spinning the wheels in the same place and not getting anywhere in terms of their physique. So what would be a couple of tips or suggestions or advice as per your own experience throughout the coaching journey?
So my advice for the youngsters would be that you do not compare your journey with someone else's journey. So everyone's journey is unique. Everyone's uh, 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 progress is different. So you all you need to do is you need to give in your best, and you need to compare yourself with your previous day or maybe your previous week. So if you see progress week on week, so I'm sure you're on the right path. So that is more important. You know, if you compare it with someone who, so for example, if it is a newbie, so the example that you gave, he's just trying to do an empty bar, or maybe hit a 5 pound dumbbell. So his journey would be very different. You know, he would be able to gain much more with a 10 pound dumbbell. So that is a progress for him. But for someone like me who's been always doing heavy, so the challenge for me was when Kamal put me on a 20 rep kind of a workout schedule. So it was a mistake on my part also that I did not tell him that I enjoyed lifting heavy. So this time we have changed that around as well. So he said, you lift heavy and you hit 60, 70 to 80% of your 1 RM, and then you do 8 to 12 reps. So that is my sweet spot, and so I would like to go heavy, instead of doing that boring number of reps. So that is something which I was doing, because I was asked to do it. But then had I told him that I enjoyed lifting heavy, because not everyone enjoys lifting, so probably they would want to add some resistance. So the importance is to do a progressive overload. So as long as you are progressing week on week, or month on month, so that is where the muscles would grow.
All right. Yeah, makes sense. Like it's the most important thing that you don't compare your journeys. I think the comparison will only end up where you're competing actually in front of another sports person or maybe another athlete. That's when probably you can think of comparing something. But if you're just starting out, like you just said, everyone is on a different journey. Probably the guy who has just joined the gym may not have a goal to become an athlete or something similar to that. He just wants to get fit and look fitter and fit into some of his clothes, right? As simple as that. That's a good goal to have as well. They can just go on about it and figure it out on what suits their routine, what they can afford to compromise on, because eventually everything will be a compromise as you get deeper into the journey, because you can't have everything and then get similar results as every other athlete that you see on social media or maybe in person. Because it may not feel like a compromise to the athlete, but if someone looks at them and thinks that they are missing out on lots of fun, they are missing out on lots of eating outside, maybe partying or something similar, because people do have that tendency to see, right, the quality of life can be enjoyed with food, maybe some drinks with someone else or something like that. But for that athlete, it may not be the way they would like to enjoy their life. Maybe they just want to have a piece of chicken with some rice, maybe have some dal or curry on the side, and just go to bed by 10 p.m. So that's something which brings a lot of peace and comfort to that person. So it's totally important to understand what fits their routine, what fits their actual goal, and as long as someone is doing anything to keep themselves healthy, I think their journeys are already on the right track.
Yeah, and also would like to add one fact that people feel being healthy is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many people who have asked me what is the total expenses that you incur on your diet. So I said it is negligible as compared to I have not fallen ill in the last 3 to 4 years. So not so except for cold, cough. So nothing major. So which is something which goes on its own. So if I experience cold, so I run on the treadmill hard, go to the steam section of my gym, take a steam, and then I'm okay. So without spending much on the medicines. So that is the trade-off which you do. You save a lot of money. Earlier I used to spend around 3,000, 4,000, even more than that only on the dues per session. So, but then with the quantified nutrition coming in, so I'm not even calculating how much my chicken costs, because that is something, food is something which you will any which ways need. So the best part is you can include all the basic things in your diet. You do not need those fancy avocados and broccolis, which are way expensive. So you can sustain your diet with food which are readily available.
Right. And definitely people are going to learn a lot from this conversation and interaction we had, right? Because you told what it felt like to you and what's the actual truth is, because people like to make assumptions and they think that this would have been very expensive, like you rightly said कि ये प्रेप किया होगा तो काफ़ी खर्चा लगता होगा, डाइटिंग में
Correct.
इतना मेहनत, इतना महंगाई, and everything and all that. Like all these thoughts do come across, but once you just start off with the process, right, you yourself realize कि this is actually doable and I can probably do this for the rest of my life. And जैसे ही वो point hit करता है, that's the point you should realize कि now that's your new updated routine and this will probably bring you more rewards long term. And that's everything which is all about it. So yeah, thank you for joining in and all the best for the future
I
contest
think
prep.
I think we cannot end this before one thing. So just give me a moment, please.
All right, yeah, sure. Oh yeah, there they are.
Yeah. So this is the participation medal at which I was not on podium.
Mm-hmm.
This is the third spot which I got for physique.
Nice.
The third
Congratulations
spot which I
once
got for
again.
classic. Yeah. So this is the fifth one which I got for physique, and this is for bodybuilding.
Perfect.
So
And
four
this is
four
just
medals in
this is
all.
just the beginning. More to come.
This is just a beginning. Yeah.
All right.
So
Yep.
the next target would be gold and the pro card which ICN has.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see.
All the very best for that. Let's make that
Thank
happen.
you.
Let's make that happen.
Sure.
All right. And thank you for joining in.
Thank you, Varnit. It was a pleasure talking to you and having a good conversation with you. So I'm sure this will help a lot of people going forward. And if there's anything any further questions which anyone would have want to know my experience further, so feel free to reach out to me.